Next up, of course, you can't bring up, Glenn Beck and then not go to him. And I think I'm going to go with, what action figure is this? Substitute teacher Glenn Beck? Continuing education art major Glenn Beck? Is that... I'm going to go with that. Those are my two. Anyways, he's got, obviously, this is a time of great turmoil in our country. It's a difficult time for every American. And Glenn says, why you must stand now and draw a line in the sand, which sounds like fighting words. And then at the bottom it says, it's time we peacefully, in all caps, draw a line in the sand, Glenn says, and declare to the world we're only willing to do things the right way. Well, if doing it that way is wrong, I don't want to be right. Which way? What do you mean by, Glenn? It's a question I think we all have. What way are you talking about? River. I'm just concerned, is all. This is one group of pastors and churches are doing just that. So when do you take a stand? When do you take a stand? You can't, America, you can't let other people fight all your battles for you. You must take a stand, all you Republicans who are shopping for another presidential candidate, which seems to be the problem right now. So I want to know, you want to know, obviously, why you must take a stand and draw a line in the sand, which I sounds like a lyric to me. Here we go.
Write this down.
All right, write this down.
So I want you to write this down.
Okay. I've started writing already. Hold on.
Because you're going to have a hard time finding it if you're Googling.
Wait, am I supposed to write that part down? Or, all right, tell me when to start writing. That's, okay.
It took me a while to find.
Your ass with both hands? You used both hands, didn't you?
Is Acts529.com.
Acts529.com. I'm going with, that is based on the Bible verse. So let's give it a look. Acts529.com. Now, I don't have to write it down because I can type. Oops, hold on. Acts529. Oh, here it is. Look at that. The statement. Here it is. This is the Acts 5:29 statement. Yes. Acts, known for its being the most Jesus-y of the Bible Gospels, and not at all overly harsh and warlike. All right. A national coalition of pastors committed to worship freely in obedience with God's word and in accordance with our U.S. Constitution, and of course, return us all to a life that's based on Little House on the Prairie and a little bit of M. Night Shyamalan's The Village. There's a preamble. You got to have that. You can take action. You can sign stuff. Here it is. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution. Okay, yes, we know that. That's not yours. You don't get to claim that. The Greek word translated church is ecclesia, which means the assembly. Our identity as the Church of Christ means we are by nature an assembly. Yes. Civil magistrates have no authority to dictate what churches may do. Okay, so they're all fighting back against that they can't speak out publicly because of their tax-exempt status. No. Nobody can stop you from saying what you're going to say. You just have to pay taxes if you're going to benefit from all the other aspects of protection that go on. Yeah, because then you move into from rights into marketing. Otherwise, unless you want the Church of Madison Avenue to start.
Acts 529.com.
Yeah, we saw it. We already looked it up, dummy.
Mm-hmm.
Sign up now and get a free Sonic milkshake.
It's called the Acts 529 statement. And it is
So it was hard to find, is what you're telling me? Telling me it's like that it's all lined up under one phrase. You couldn't Google. Never mind.
vitally important that your church, your pastor, your rabbi sign this document.
No, it isn't.
And here's what it is. The Acts 529 statement. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution states, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion or
Yes, the establishment of religion is the part of it.
prohibiting the free speech or free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Just for the record, that the Acts 529 Church of the Assembly of God did not write that. This is, I guess, this is old school plagiarism.
During the COVID-19 pandemic, representatives who were elected to secure our God-given rights
Told you couldn't meet in a church because there was a chance that the contagion would kill your constituents, and you would have probably done it on your own if you gave a goddamn. No pun
clearly
intended.
transgressed their lawful authority in executive action that prohibited public meetings or mandated the wearing of masks and social distancing. God's
No, they didn't.
word directs us not to forsake the assembling of ourselves together.
Yeah. And he also tells you to pray in a fucking closet.
Hebrews 10:25. This verse is a divine injunction. We must obey God rather than the arbitrary decrees of men. As a national coalition of pastors and
Yeah. Next pandemic, guess what? You guys can gather all your people in a room and cough each other to death. Again, do religions get to override zoning laws? Because obviously, if people can gather peacefully, they also need a permit to gather peacefully. Even though it's a right, there are responsibilities that go with it. You can't. I'll give you an example. If a pastor insists that all of his people gather, I don't know, in a room filled with bunk beds, cut their balls off, put their shoes by the floor, and wait for a comet to take them to La La Land, that's against the law. Even though up to the point where they castrated themselves, they were peaceably assembled.
churches, we reject any presidential or gubernatorial decree requiring us to disobey the word of God.
Well, let's see. So, let's see. So you just when you violate the word of God, you'll just do it on your own terms. Gotcha.
We will resist any attempt by a federal, state, or local official to restrict or prohibit the free exercise of our religion,
Even if it entails female genital mutilation. Even if it means the stoning to death of people who blaspheme. How about no?
or place restrictions thereon. The end of all the civil
Oh, thank you, Raina. Appreciate that. Being awesome. Right, twin. Thank you.
government being the end of all civil government being the good of society, we affirm our
Wait a minute. The end of what?
the end of all civil government being the good of society, we affirm our
Hang the fuck on. He's got to hold on. Guys, And that's going to reject any presidential. The end of all civil government being the good of society, we affirm our submission to lawful civil authority as is instituted by God himself. Okay, think about this for a second. Think about the fucking lunacy of this statement. The end of all civil government being the good of society. Oh, the ends of all, like the end, the purpose. The end of all, like, all right. The end of all civil government, meaning the purpose, in theory. I hope that's what they mean, unless they mean that, unless they're using the word end. The ends, as in the means and the ends. The end of all civil government being the good of society. It's a weird use of the word end, and it seems like they chose it for a reason. We affirm our submission to lawful civil authority as instituted by God himself. But when rulers exceed the scope of their constitutional and God-given authority, they act contrary to their office and the public good and affect the ruin and misery of society. You don't think tens or hundreds of thousands more people dying because of a contagion unnecessarily, that doesn't qualify as the ruin and misery of society?
Submission to lawful.
All right, he's just filling fucking time.
Civil authority.
I already read this.
Of their constitutional and God-given authority, they act contrary to their office and the public good and affect the ruin and misery of society.
Hilarious.
We do not need the permission of civil authorities to obey what God has commanded.
Yeah, but some of the things that God has commanded, like if you come upon your enemy, cut open the bellies of the pregnant woman and bash the babies on the rocks. I'm just gonna say, legally, you should and will encounter some difficulty.
Nor does the church need the approval of civil authorities to serve and worship our God in the way he has prescribed.
And so God has prescribed that you must gather in a church setting, windows shut, doors closed, during a pandemic. You must continue to gather. No, he hasn't. Just saying. As someone who's read the Bible.
The Greek word translated church is ecclesia, which means the
as in like Ecclesiastes. Yeah.
assembly. Our identity as the Church of Jesus Christ means that we are by nature an assembly.
Okay, well then you are already assembled, whether you're together or not. Night, goodbye. Oh, okay, fuck off.
Assemble to hear the word preached, partake of the sacraments.
Wait a minute. Means we are by nature an assembly. We assemble to hear his words preached. Okay, this is a business plan by pastors to make sure that their churches don't empty and they can get crowds back in because it's how they pay their bills. This is not about teaching the word of God because they could do that online nowadays. It's about getting people in there and guilting them into putting something in the tin.
And fellowship with one another. The apostles' teachings are unambiguous in this regard.
Someone hears the word preached. The apostles' teachings are unambiguous. No, they aren't. You do not have to assemble to be taught the teachings of the Gospels. It's just stupid. This is a business model. This is what they are presenting. This is like a marketing scheme.
Civil magistrates have no authority to dictate what churches may or may not do.
Yes, they do. You're still responsible for zoning. If you want to build your church out of broken glass and marzipan in tornado alleys, you're gonna get the building's gonna be condemned. Stupid. They absolutely do. Public safety absolutely overrides your mythical ability to assemble in a dangerous situation.
The Constitution of the United States is the highest law in our land. In 1803, In Marbury versus Madison, the Supreme Court ruled any law repugnant to the Constitution is null and void.
What about any president who's repugnant, just in general, like Trump? Like, he's just kind of gross. Nobody. Thank you, Amy.
We are on solid constitutional.
I do my best. I really do, Amy. I try.
Footing.
No, you're not. This is just dumb.
A refusal to comply with.
He's filling time by just reading this. I'm angry with myself that I even got suckered into this stupid clip.
Restrictions.
Please talk to Stu after this and at least get into a dumb conversation, or bring on one of these pastors.
Public worship. Again, the First Amendment states Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof.
Yes, you can be a Christian in your own heart anywhere, but group assemblies in buildings where multiple, I got news for you. You're going to have a handicap ramp. You're going to have toilets. Yeah, you're going to have some function of sanitation going on in the building, right? You can get your church shut down for that. Doesn't mean you can't meet in somebody's house. Shit, go meet in their yard. Set up a tent. But if you want to get together in a closed building, that building's going to be up to fucking code. Are you nuts? What are you talking about?
Any law, order, or mandate that infringes our God-given right to worship according to conscience.
No. Sorry. You do not get to forcibly mutilate children. You do not get to stone drunkards or criminals or wanton women or, like, there's a ton of like Old Testament stuff that gets thrown out. You don't get to dictate that because this is our ground. You don't get to like draw a circle around your fucking church and say we're allowed to do inside this little circle. We're allowed to do whatever we want to whoever we want because it's our thing. So if a heretic happens to cut across our lawn, we get to beat them to death. No, you do not. That is repugnant to the Constitution. That creates a tyrannical control over public and privately purchased land. If that were true, John Wayne Gacy could just declare his house a church. I'm the church of the clown who kills kids. The church of it. The church of Pennywise, and I can bury whomever as long as I kill them on this ground. And how they got here is their own choice. If I brought them there to pray, and as far as you know, that's the last thing they said was yes. This is just stupid.
Violates the First Amendment and is unlawful. We, the undersigned,
gibberish,
hereby affirm the preceding statements.
It's dumb.
You can sign this.
No, I really can't, because I value my signature and it means something to me.
If you're a pastor, priest, rabbi, you can also sign.
I'm an ordained minister. I can marry people. And there's no fucking way I would sign anything even close to this gibberish.
And if you're just a congregant, you should send it to your pastor, your priest, or your rabbi.
Why?
It is time that we take a stand.
For what? We have to stand for something. And what I stand for is getting you all inside while one of our congregants has typhoid and making sure that you all catch it. Welcome to the Divine Church of Monkeypox. Don't forget to wipe your nose on your money before you put it in the tin.
It is time that we do things.
All right, he's trying to speak with like weird radio dignity, but he doesn't know what he's going to say.
The right way.
Uh-huh. Again, as they say in the Navy, there is no wrong hole.
Moon River. And peacefully draw the line in the sand. You can arrest us if you want.
What do you mean, us? You don't have a church, dummy. You're telling other people to do this.
But I know who I serve.
the Blaze's investors.
I will not violate the conditions of my first citizenship to meet the demands of my second citizenship.
So he is a citizen of the kingdom of God first. And number two, he's full of shit. No.
I am first a member of a kingdom.
Yes, you are. Yes. Sir Glenn Beck, Knight of Sonic, carrier of the sacred barbecued wings.
A kingdom of God.
Well, again, and unfalsifiable, has nothing to do with anybody else. I have to take your word for it. I don't want to hear any shit about trans people then from you, because you think that it's all in their head. Then they can say, actually, no, you're not a Christian. Why? Because I've read your book, and even though I'm not a Christian, I know your behavior doesn't line up with that book ever, even within the realm of, constantly asking forgiveness and trying to actually make amends and becoming a better person. Since you don't live up to that, I'm just gonna, in my head, you're not a Christian at all. So come at me, bro. Like, where is the standard then?
And he is my only king.
Yummy.
He is my only ruler.
And it's really hard to measure crafts, because like I'm making a doily that's like this big, and I God is my only ruler, and he's ginormous. He is without measure. It makes it really hard. When your ruler is without measure, it's complicated.
I have agreed to live under the laws of the Constitution.
Oh, have you now? You've agreed. Well, that's mighty neighborly of you. You've agreed to live under until such time as you decide not to, tyrannical asshole.
And to protect and support that Constitution.
Yes, using a bleached microphone and a bunch of TVs that you bought on sale at a Best Buy that was going out of business, that you put your name on and your logo on.
That's what I have to do to really secure my citizenship in the United States of America.
Yes. Also, one of those things is to not enforce your religion in a way that would put other people in danger across the line of theirs, which also entails fitting into the, not violating like zoning laws, because then you create a slippery slope where, well, if churches don't have to secure their roof, why should I? I pay taxes. They don't.
Support the Constitution.
Why do here's a good question. Why do our taxes... And by the way, I'm all for religions not paying taxes. That's not an issue with me. But let's just work with this on me, because I think that's the thing that keeps them out of the proselytizing and politicking business. That said, why do our tax dollars pay to make sure that churches are up to code from fire, flood, structural failure, asbestos, toxic chemicals, make sure the electricity, the electrical system in it won't short out and burn the fucking place down? Why do our tax dollars do that? If in no way do they have to live up to those standards. What's the argument?
It if called upon. But when you go extra
if called upon, yes. Yeah, you're if we're ever attacked, Glenn, you're a it was the old Woody Allen joke. I was classified 4F. In case of a war, I'm a hostage.
Constitutional. When you're asking me to do things that you constitutionally don't even have the authority. But
yes, they do. Like regular zoning and emergency. Like you can't have your church gather if a fucking tornado is coming. It's, manipulative murder if you get all these people killed. If you're like, we don't need to go to the basement, stay out here. Like if you did that, you'd go to fucking jail. Shut up.
Instead, the Constitution bars you from doing that.
No, it doesn't. None of this is true. This is goofy. All this is about is getting old people killed.
The civic thing I will not violate. You can't ask me to because you're in violation.
Yeah, no, you're in violation. No, you're in violation. No, it's a tickle. It's funny. I don't know why I'm bleeding out my ass. Maybe there's something to this, Pastor, this Ebola thing. I don't know. Do we really have to do hand-to-mouth communion today? I'm just saying your fingernails are bleeding, and it's a little, okay, well, if Jesus says so.
You're in violation of your second citizenship. I'm holding true to it. And it is all of our responsibility to stand up. This is the first thing that I have seen on COVID that is an act that all of us can take.
No, you can't. You're out of order. No, you're out of order. You want me on that wall. You need me in that bell tower.
And it is drawing a line in the sand at...
No, it isn't.
Our churches. You will not violate our churches.
That's right. Praise Jesus. Welcome to our first gathering since the warnings about Ebola have come out. Do not be afraid. You guys have all heard stories of like statues of Jesus weeping blood. Don't get nervous. Just come up here. We're going to do a special kind of baptism. It's not quit. It's not blood. It's bile.
You will not tell us what we can and cannot do.
Yes, you will, because you have to pass. Yeah, we have zoning laws on churches. Public health and public safety are both things that affect you. That doesn't stop your faith, dummy. You can't peaceably assemble in a dangerous situation. Okay, let's just put it there. You can't. We're all going to go down to there. I know there's a tornado coming, but we believe that our faith will stop the tornado. So I am directing all of my followers to walk towards the wind. That's illegal. You're a moron. Shut the fuck up.
In our churches. This is not just about COVID.
There's some shitting on an altar. Sorry, Josh.
This is also about what I can read, what
no, it isn't.
Church can say from
no, it isn't.
The pulpit.
No, it isn't.
Because if you think they're going to stay out of the church...
Asshole, we just want you to stay out of the church when there's a contagious disease going around that could kill most of your congregation, shitheel.
What they are building right now
is a standard by which you survive pandemics and not gather during them and die.
The left is building a church.
Oh, all right. But we can't go to it. That's the thing. The left is building their own church that no one goes to.
This is a theocracy.
So we worship COVID? I don't understand. This is the great church of masks? Maybe you're thinking of veils in certain religions. All right.
That they're building. It looks a lot like fascism, but fascism always has some sort of religion attached to it. Something.
No. I mean, you have to believe the nation is in your soul. I mean, it depends if capital F fascism, which is Italian fascism, or the generic fascism, which is what like the Nazis were into, which was just kind of, they only used them in the same way that like Christianity and Judaism and some other religions usurped European paganism and the holidays that already existed and turned them into Christian or turned them into religious holidays based on the invaders' ideas. Because believe it or not, there were indigenous Europeans and they had come up with their own pagan religions. So the Nazis, stole from that. Like the swastika is a stolen Tibetan religious symbol, for example. But that doesn't mean they really believed it. If the Dalai Lama had shown up, I don't think the Nazis would have gone, guys, we got to do what he says.
that you are to believe, that can't be proved, that you are to believe. We're going to reimagine the police force. How? Where? When?
Well, obviously, we're going to imagine them in riding unicorns that fart glitter, all of them in rainbow outfits, and just storming into churches and kicking people with their magic hooves, like some scene out of Gay Lady Hawk. Gady Hawk. That's right, isn't it? Isn't that what we're doing? What?
What does that look like? Any test results from that? When do we reevaluate if that's working or not?
You mean, I'll tell you what, we only tend to reevaluate things to see if they're working if they've actually happened in the real world instead of in your fever dreams.
You're asked to just sit down, shut up, and believe.
Sorry, are you not defending church now? Because that was my experience of church when I was little. That's the best description of church when I was a kid that I can come up with. Am I missing something here? Hold on, back up. Say that again.
You're asked to just sit down, shut up, and believe.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. That was pretty much, I was like 6. So that was true of everything in life, not just church. James says Glenn needs the fart gun. I don't have it currently, but I think we'll see what I can do.
And if you have any questions, that's the dark side that is giving you those questions. Don't ask those questions. Don't even think about those questions. That is an old style church. I mean, when I say old, I mean Dark Ages style church.
So the Enlightenment has led us to the Dark Ages, according to Glenn Beck, because churches have to obey zoning laws.
We need to start standing together. So go to acts529.com. That's acts529.com. You can send it to your pastor easily. You can sign the statement. You can share it.
No, I really can't.
And you could email officials. January 1st, 2023, they are going to be emailing all of the officials, local, state, and federal jurisdictions to inform them that these churches are standing. Well, that's going to put me on a list. Yeah. Well,
that's going to put me on a list. Yes, the big list, the great list of dummies. I keep it in my head at all times. And Glenn, you're always right up there at the top. Sometimes Bongholio knocks you out of the top slot, but you always bring your number 2 game, and I appreciate it.
Yep. You know, there's also another list called the Book of Life.
Yeah. You ever heard of it? It's called the Book of Life. If you're not in it, you go to hell. You want to be in that book? I don't think so. There's also... Don't be coy with me about the afterlife, you bastard.
Yeah, that one's going to be checked too.
Yeah, So think about that, huh? Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Moon River. I wonder what you're doing or failing to do. I wonder if that helps your name on the Book of Life, because in my book, that's the only one that matters.
What? Is your book the Book of Life, or is your book in the Book of Life? Or in your book, like in my mind, that's not actually a book, but I call it in my book. That's the best book there is of books just in book speak. If we're talking about Glenn's list of good books, the good book is the best book of several good books. It's the best. So I have a list of best books too. Thank you for Thank you for that dramatic pause, you prick. Watch this. Just the friggin' ego on this asshole.
My book, that's the only one that matters. It's time for our pastors to find their strength and to find...
Yes, and define it in the earthly realm. You know that asshole who said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's? Screw that guy.
their purpose. You know,
their purpose is to prepare their congregation for the afterlife, not to bring it sooner.
We're all being tested, and I've always looked at this as a good thing.
Yes, it's a multiple choice test, though.
We're being tested right now.
And as long as you don't have Ebola, you can go to church this Sunday.
On
monkeypox?
Can you actually do what you were sent here to do? Can
What was I sent here to do? Do you know? Please tell me. Please tell me.
you actually be the person that you were born to be? Not
This is this close to becoming a Lady Gaga song. We're this close.
the person, oh, I don't know. I don't want to do that. No, I don't want to be one of those people.
Is this what your mornings are like, Glenn?
Because I don't want to do any of this.
The one man's struggle with his own internal faith. However shall we free ourselves from the burden and confusion, fear, the yoke that we all have on our shoulders, and the egg whites as well?
Really don't.
I don't want to do this. I don't want to eat better. I don't want to exercise. I don't want to be nice. I don't want to take the tenets of Christianity and live them out. I want to do the bumper sticker stuff and get credit for it. This is an ego act for me. When will you people get this through your thick head?
Talked to Rob Schneider the other day. Feels exactly the same way.
Rabbi Rob Schneider or Pastor Rob Schneider?
He's like, I got money. I could just go away.
Well, now that I didn't want to bring it up. However, would you mind?
I just go away, live a happy life, just unplug.
I don't threaten me with a good time.
And be fine. By the time they get to me, it'll be a long time down the road. Probably be dead.
Yeah, not my problem. You know what I mean? But I have to do this. I must do this. Yes, that Rob Schneider.
Wouldn't mind it.
Neither would we. Go for it.
I was born and so were you.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say there might have been a couple of people who, besides myself, who were hatched. So,
for this time.
I see. Yes, none of us were born in the 1800s and frozen. None of us were born 1,000 years from now and sent back in time naked because nothing metal will go through.
And all that requires is us not to go over the cliff with the rest of society.
That's all. It's that easy. And that simple plan for a better life can be yours for just $19.95.
And that just means you have to stand up and draw a line in the sand.
What if there's no sand around? Will gravel work, or can I just? You have a chalkboard? Does that count?
And say, no, I'm not going there.
Yeah, I'm not going there. I'm tired of it.
Whew. Thank you, Doc. You ever serve time?
I am not going there.
Drop your shorts and bend over, Mr. Babar.
I am not going there.
Because this is how crazy it's gotten.
Yeah, it's wild.
Here in a very small town in Texas, Roanoke, over the weekend, there was a family family-friendly trans show.
Dear God. And they set up their own church, didn't they? And because of the rules that you and the Axe body spray people, that's what I'm going to call that site from now on. Go to axebodyspray.com and read their primary statement. You and the Axe body spray people created a thing that the standard for having a church is whatever you say it is, and whatever you do on your church grounds is whatever you say you want to do, and therefore people can perform forcible gender reassignment surgery in the Church of Trans because of the rules you guys set up. I don't know what a trans show is. I don't know what he's talking about.
It wasn't family friendly.
No, it wasn't family friendly. I show up there. They hand me some body oil. 6 hours later, we're this close to going, like Glenn saying, that drag show made my butt hurt.
It wasn't. Now, you want to take your kids to that? Fine.
Okay. Cool.
I don't get it, but okay, fine. You want to have your kids give money to them for their dancing?
Okay, that's not trans. You're talking about a drag show for kids. Inappropriate sexual behavior by adults of any sex in front of children is inappropriate and wrong. Don't drag the rest of the world into this shit. And this does not allow you to violate zoning or public safety rules in your church because some assholes do this.
Hey, I don't know exactly what you're teaching your kids. Well, actually, I do, but...
All right, go for it.
You apparently don't. Or if you do, what the hell is wrong with you?
I look, you're so far all over the map. I'm not sure. I'm still stuck with this whole thing that you'd go to church if there was an Ebola breakout and monkeypox and typhoid and dengue fever because it's Sunday at 9 a.m. and God told you to.
You know, Biden's going to give this big gun speech this week.
Oh, and one thing that Jesus loved was guns. It's funny. First kingdom says, thou shalt not kill. Second kingdom says, in regard to a well-regulated militia, the right to bear arms will not be, you can have a gun. So the United States says you can have a gun. God says you can't use it. So which kingdom gets dominance this time, Glenn?
Bound and determined to take AR-15s off the market.
Okay. Which is not something, it sounds like something, honest to God, it sounds like something Peter would do. I know Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John would have been for it, but Peter would for him, but Peter would have said,
Okay, well,
how are we going to kill people in the name of God if we can't carry around a reusable pipe bomb?
Not in my town.
No, not in my God-fearing, Jesus-loving town where he told me to love my enemies and turn the other cheek. No fucking way. The only reason I turn my other cheek is so I don't get any blood splatter in my eye as I pow.
Not in my town.
Not in my town, because if you come in here and even ask me to, I'll shoot you in Jesus' name.
My town gets the Constitution.
Does it? I thought the law of God superseded that, though. If you can't solve it with a slingshot, do you even Old Testament, bro?
But, all right, that's what you want to do. I'd have to call you somebody like a dictator, because that's what...
Yeah, I'll call you a really stern name. I call you a dictator, even though my religion says that I shouldn't even have these kind of things.
Dictators would...
Anything that you could indiscriminately kill someone with, clearly in violation of my religious beliefs, especially that whole turn the other cheek part.
Change the Constitution. Change the Constitution. You want to do that?
They don't have to. Well-regulated militia part of it allows for the militia aspect of it to be to have primacy over the infringement of the right to bear arms. You can bear arms, but we can also regulate how many weapons you can have and when on your own person. Therefore, there can be an arsenal or an armory in town where the heavier weapons are, for if you're called up ever because we're attacked, they'll all be stored there. But you can have limited weapons for self-defense everywhere else, and we will work to minimize the weapons that are available out on the street, and that'll be our big way of locking people up just for having them to protect your life.
You believe you
before it ever comes to a shootout, so you can get on with your fucking life.
If you're in the majority, go ahead. Change the Constitution. It allows you to do that. Just amend it. By the way, the Second Amendment no longer applies. Go for it. A dictator just goes around that.
Or a religious person would say, because we teach the teachings of Christ, you cannot be a Christian and own a gun. Period. That law supersedes you. Yes, the Constitution allows you to have one. We don't.
We had people that were Antifa, dressed all in black with the black masks and everything else, that were actually using ARs from the roof of a garage. They were taking sniper positions in this little town over the weekend. Did anybody on the left say anything about that? Did they have?
What little town was this? And so anybody in a balaclava with an AR-15 is suddenly Antifa? What? I mean, you're just going to say that outright? I'll just take it as faith. I mean, everything else he said is totally checks out.
Problem? How about this one?
All right. Yeah, just move on. You know what I mean? You know, like who needs details around a story like that?
If you're thinking, I don't want to be one of those people. I'm not.
I don't want to be one of those people on a rooftop with a balaclava and an AR-15 for America.
I'm not gonna sign that. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I'm not signing.
Send it to.
They're gonna find me. That's how they track you. Probably an FBI website. I'm not even gonna use Axe body spray anymore. It's probably got CIA truth serum in it.
Pastor to sign.
You wouldn't believe the stuff I yell at women walking by when I use Axe body spray. That's how they get you, right, Glenn?
The Satanic Temple.
The Satanic, the place where they make seitan, the meat substitute?
Scheduled to host an event in September at a Pennsylvania high school auditorium. According to the TST's flyer, that's the Satanic Temple's flyer.
Well, sure, TST. Who doesn't know them by TST? I do.
The back-to-school fundraiser is a family-friendly night filled with arts and crafts, science experiments, live demos, refreshments, and fun for all ages.
So far, I'm okay.
Northern York County School District previously voted 8-1 to reject a resident's request to form the TST-sponsored after-school Satan's Club.
But they couldn't because there was an after-school Christians Club, and it would have been discriminatory. You see why the separation of church and state is important, stupid? Yeah, it's TYT, right?
But
I'm sorry, you said wait a minute. What was that again?
After school Satan's Club. But they had to let them have a little party, you know, they had to let them do the thing with the thing.
Why did they have to do that, Glenn? Why? Because they let other religious groups have a gathering, and that's the law. The thing is, if you don't have those kind of groups at school, and you have them outside of school, instead of trying to indoctrinate kids in school or try to pressure them socially into these clubs, then you can do whatever the fuck you want. Why don't you have them at your church? Why don't you have a youth gathering and have kids who are at school who it's completely cool if they want to invite their friends to come to their gathering at their church? No problem whatsoever. But the minute you make it an after school thing, then anybody who wants to can do it.
Have a fundraiser.
Why were they? He's not going to say it, is he? He's not going to say that the reason is because they already had other religious groups and legally they couldn't stop it because they allowed these other groups.
Do they?
Yeah, because of the First Amendment, which is the whole point of the thing he was citing in the beginning, because he's a fucking dunce.
If you don't think
You'll be a Glenn Beck.
that we are fighting evil,
I don't think you're fighting evil. I mean, I think you might be fighting sin on a daily basis, but sin, the root of the word, comes from the same one we get sine wave, a wavering. It is an archery term, means you're off the mark. It's not. It doesn't mean you're evil. Sin is when you're drifting from the mark, and all you need to not sin in the eyes of God is a gentle correction. And I've seen what you eat, Glenn. You fight sin all the time. You desecrate your temple every goddamn day.
unlike anything you've ever seen before in your life.
Excuse me, I grew up a Kiss fan. Bring it.
Then you don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, people, you don't get it. I don't know what he's talking about or what it is, but whatever it is, we don't get it.
We're not fighting. We really are not fighting. Boy, this rings so true to me now.
I don't even know what you're saying, so it must.
We don't fight flesh and bone. We are fighting
A spiritual war.
principalities.
Principalities? What? Yes, you were fighting zoning laws.
We are fighting principalities.
Yes, it's the school boards.
Princes of the air.
Yes, princes of the... Yes, you're fighting wind.
We are fighting evil. We are. Tell me what line can be crossed after man-boy love.
No, I'm not going to get into that conversation with you. That's where that's what's been. We're 15 minutes and 30 seconds into this clip. We're 13 minutes 57 seconds into a 15-minute clip. That's what's been on his mind the whole time? What? No, I'm not going to tell you. And I hope you never find out, you creep.
After man-boy love. Minor attracted adults.
I don't know. Is Stu on break? Who am I? Why are we supposed to know? Here's a good idea. Go look at all the Trump campaign heads who've been busted for those kind of activities. Ask them. I'm sure they could go further.
After we mainstream,
We're not mainstreaming that.
pedophilia.
We're not. That's not what we're doing. We're not going to do that. And if that's your plan, I have not read the rest of the Axe body spray movement's website. If that's where they're going, are we being suckered into that? At the bottom of the page, does it keep going, kind of like the Blacks for Trump dude, where the first 10 videos are about how great Trump is, and then the rest of them are all about how Martin Luther King's not really black? Is that where we are?
What is the next line, gang? What is it? Because I don't see one after that one.
Mm-hmm. So that's the end game? That's your focus. That's what you think the end game is.
If that's the where we're going,
That's not the where we're going.
no, I'm not going. I'm not.
Okay, fine. You wait here. The rest of us are going to man-boy love land, apparently. Is this a conversation that Stu had with him before he stormed out of the studio?
going. And so I will stand against all of these incursion into...
Okay, I don't know how the government not wanting people to gather indoors during a contagious disease outbreak that was spread through the air and was worse in areas with bad ventilation, especially old buildings, didn't want people gathering in churches. They could just pray online all you fucking want. As a matter of fact, most churches have built out their whole Facebook Live, church stream from that shit. The government not wanting you to do that, how is that a bullet train to why does Glenn's brain go there?
My life
is weird as shit.
Because I have certain rights.
As a little boy.
And they're guaranteed to me through the Constitution and God. God gives them and guarantees.
Well, if he guarantees them, then we don't have to take care of them. So we don't have to do any more building inspections on churches, apparently, because God will keep the roof on during a tornado. We don't have to check for asbestos in churches because God will protect Glenn from asbestos. This is so fucking stupid.
The Constitution is to guarantee the government won't do anything about it. And you know what?
Asshole, without that government functioning, none of those are guaranteed in the abstract. You're just a victim waiting to happen.
They will continue to take and take and take.
All right, he's just filling time until the break. He's going to do his little finger point now. This is just yammering. Stu had to take a shit or left the studio, and he's just using this to fill time. This is just like, there's got to be an ad for like prepper food after this or something.
Until we all put our differences aside and march together.
In a pandemic.
And say, you know what? We still hold these things to be self-evident. And we're not going away. And you're not going to frighten us.
No, not at all. You're not going to frighten me with sharks. If the Lord wants us to swim out to that island and pray, he'll protect us. That's why we're all wearing meat suits, to show our belief in God.
Oh, you're going to put us in jail. Don't like it. I don't like it.
How do you know? Wait, how do you know if you haven't tried it, Glenn? How do you know you won't like jail? I think you might. I'm just saying.
You using the whole fist, Doc?
I'm just saying, give it a shot.
But if that's what it takes...
That's what it takes. Send me to jail for a made-up thing that doesn't actually happen. Please, apparently this whole thing is like, if I have to live away from everyone else and go to jail, how much do you hate your job, Glenn? Is that what this is all about? Is this a cry for help?
But that's not going to work unless we all stand together.
In jail or?
Start with the pledge.
Start standing together with the pledge you do by yourself?
Acts 5:29.
Yes, that's the heaviest body spray they have.
.com.
Fuck, that was annoying. That he does that shit every day. And I sit through it sometimes on this show live with you. Let me be abundantly clear here. The idea that you deny people's ability to have a faith, a religious faith, that they feel in their own heart or in their own brain, and that no one can verify, no matter how much they proselytize or say it. Just because you preach doesn't mean you're telling the truth. Just because you say you believe something doesn't make it true. So what Glenn is asking for is that the government set aside all rules about public safety or the regular order of society based on what anybody just says about what they believe, as long as it has a pseudo-religious veneer to it. No. Because that would be the establishment of religion. That would be I believe that person over that person. And anybody who just has a spiritual belief or a belief of their own that's a very personal belief about what happens after you die or before you're born or in the middle, or whether there's a being you communicate with or a greater intelligence you're a part of, any of that stuff, that's, if you can't articulate it into a mythology, you get none of those rights and privileges. Nor would atheists or agnostics. You get none of those privileges. This privilege is only for people who have a constructed mythos that they can articulate, and I have no idea to what degree they would have to do this before the government can no longer say, well, public health rules don't apply to you. I'm going to Valhalla. I'll be right there next to you. Get out of my motherboard. Here's the thing. The result of this, everything that Glenn said just then is meaningless. It's a puff piece for some website, and it won't matter, and he'll talk about it for 10 minutes, and that's in a segment like that, and then never speak of it again. It's not going to amount to a fucking hill of beans. And they may have paid him to talk about it. That might have been, we might have just watched a paid advertisement. And since it's not a product, he doesn't have to tell anybody. But ultimately, it's not going to affect shit. None of those pastors in any of their situations are going to be able to get a group of people back together inside a church during a pandemic of any meaning. And if they do manage to do it because in their state there's just no rules about it, and they manage to get their church together during like a contagious outbreak and end up killing a bunch of their own congregation. First of all, if those are adults, that's your ass. I mean, at a certain point, if that's how much your state gives a shit about you, and your church gives even less of a shit about you, and they're in a hurry to get you to the afterlife, then I don't understand what makes the distinction between the church, the assembly that they're talking about in that particular church, and Hale Bop or Jonestown. Fuck is the difference? What Glenn Beck is ultimately calling for is the legalization of Jonestown. That's what he's asking for. He's too stupid to recognize that's what he's asking for. But that's what he's saying.